Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel and the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel as well. This is Pro Wrestling Logic. This is the Double or Nothing 2022 report for AEW. And as always, with the pay per views, it makes you feel good walking away in the sense of there's enough good stuff that can make you a wrestling fan. But there's also a bunch of stuff that doesn't need to be on a wrestling show. So it's a mixed bag. Anyhow, first half hour of the buy in pre show features a bunch of video packages, hype for the pay-per-view. Serena Deeb's package was really good, as well as Thunder Rosa. And anyway, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone run down the show before we go to the Acclaimed, making an unannounced entrance. Castro performed a rap, and the Gun Club are there. Bowens calls them the, Tail Boys. Anyway, Taz joins on commentary for the Hook, Danhausen versus Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. 5 minutes, 57 seconds. Great match for what it is, in the sense of Hook and Danhausen are a team that they could ride to the end of merchandising if they wanted to. I don't know that Nese and Sterling are the team that I would have put them against, but it wasn't harmful in any way. Hook takes Nese down right away, and the heels regroup on the outside. Danhausen tags in. Nese opens for a headlock before hitting a shoulder tackle. Danhausen uses maneuvers and attempts to curse and hits a diving Rana and curses Sterling. Distraction is enough for Nese to take out Danhausen. Suplex Danhausen allows him to reach Hook for the tag. Nese wants to tag out. Sterling drops out of the way. Hook then hits repeated suplexes. Nese tags himself out, and Hook takes out Sterling for an overhead throw. Hook has Sterling beat, but then tags Danhausen in for the pin. Awesome way to start the show. The crowd was super hot for this, and I'm sorry, but Hookhausen has the ability to be a thing that's going to connect with kids and teenagers alike and be a merchandising big deal. Anyway, so then we go to the start of the pay-per-view. MJF is booed out of the building during his entrance. So Wardlow was escorted to the ring with no music from a holding cell backstage, and then Wardlow defeats MJF 7:35. A complete honest squash of MJF, but a lot of people are wondering if MJF is leaving the company. I tend to believe that the entire situation with him, if you've watched the news reports, is all the work. But anyhow, MJF goes right to the floor. Wardlow turns his back on MJF and takes shot. Wardlow shrugs it off and then manages to kind of get into a really basic situation. Wardlow uses power throughout. Wardlow is very aggressive with the power usage throughout, and ultimately MJF is here. Wardlow shrugs off moves and strikes, and even a poke to the eye. Wardlow catches MJF in powerbomb position, and MJF turns things into a Rana pin attempt for 2. Wardlow kicks out. MJF sold as if his knee is injured. The announcers talk about how there's doctors at ringside to check for these things. MJF offers to quadruple the pay of Wardlow. Wardlow doesn't seem to care about this. Wardlow starts the powerbomb synergy, managing to hit 5 powerbombs in a row before kind of stopping, and Wardlow covers but lets him right up, hits 5 more, total of 10 power bombs, and MJF is taken out on a stretcher. Tony Schiavone announced that Wardlow is all elite, and anyway, Caprice Coleman joined on commentary. Not sure why he joined for this particular match, but I would love to see him on commentary on a regular basis. He's phenomenal. Bucks were introduced for Super Kick Party parody of Elvis's Viva Las Vegas. This is just trash. Hardy's Matt and Jeff defeat the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. For what it is, if you like that style, it is okay, but this went too long and probably is the last major match of the Hardys' career. There is good back and forth, and there was more psychology than an average Bucks match. But I think that they were paying homage to the reason they get in the business. Matt start off, and then counter wrestling early. Younger brothers tag in. Jeff and Nick come in, and they are back and forth. Nick goes to the floor. Nick, Hardy's take over after that. Crowd chants for Cutler. Nick goes out and showers him with anger because he's taking attention away from the Bucks. Hardy's take out Matt Jackson with a clothesline and a suplex. Hardy's then drop Nick onto his brother. Nick does a step-up enziguri before landing a super kick on Matt Hardy, and of course we have to have 27 super kicks. The Bucks isolate Jeff, beat him up for a bit, frequent tags. There's actually some decent tag team psychology here. Jeff comes back, double clothesline, but Cutler pulls his brother out off the apron, and then Jeff fires back, making the tag. Jeff avoids a Whisper in the Wind attempt, but from Matt Jackson and fires back with one of his own. Matt then gets a hot tag and repeatedly drives the Bucks face first into the turnbuckles. He then does the same to Cutler before hitting a side effect for Nick for the 2. Nick sends Matt Hardy to the floor and hits an X Factor on Jeff before there's a bunch of moves from everybody. There's more super kicks from the Bucks, and then Nick lands that and kind of gets things going in a semi-okay way, I guess. Anyway, Nick then lands a senton onto the Hardys. Bucks hit risky business on Matt for a 2 count. Nick hits his brother with a knee and then cracks Cutler in the face out on the floor. Jeff lands diving shoulder block on Nick, and then there's a side effect on the apron. Hardys hit Poetry in Motion. Nick Jackson counters the Twist of Fate, and ultimately that doesn't last very long. Jeff Hardy avoids the BT triggers, but they crack their knees together. Bucks recovers and nail both Hardys with super kicks, so that's like 10 on the match. Anyway, Bucks turned steel steps on their side and perch Jeff on them. Matt pops up and hits the BT bomb on Nick. Jeff placed Matt Jackson on the steel steps and lands a really awkward-looking swanton bomb. Inside the ring, Matt hits Twist of Fate for a great near fall. Nick cradles Matt, but he comes back with a side effect for another Twist of Fate. Jeff climbs the ropes and lands a swanton bomb for the win. The right team wins. Hopefully we can put the This Is a Dream match goofiness to an end. Anyway, video aired of the Acclaim and Gun Club partying in Vegas. They cut to Billy Gunn finding them all and being disappointed in them. Jade Cargill defeats Anna Jay, 7:52. There's a lot of backlash on this online, but considering she's had less than, 40 pro matches, Jade Cargill is phenomenal, and she is going to be, it's interesting. Anna Jay hasn't really hit her stride since coming back from her injury, but she'll get there. Jay goes for the Queenslayer early. Cargill returns with a fallaway slam. Cargill dominates, and Jay hits a superplex. I don't know why they're doing that many big spots this early. Jay then hits a lariat, but Cargill comes back and won't go down. Top rope blockbuster finally takes off. Cargill rolls to the floor to prevent pin attempt. Out on the floor, Jay sends Cargill into the steel steps. Baddies, Hogan, and Velvet try to get involved, but that doesn't go very well. Jay DDT'd them both. Back in the ring, Cargill goes for the Jaded, but Jay turns that around and lands a kick. Smart Mark Sterling carries the crutch from the buy-in match, does the distraction. Jay grabs the crutch and hits a Russian leg sweep through for the next near fall. John Silver runs out and hits Sterling with the brainbuster on the floor. Good to see John Silver get on the pay-per-view. I don't know this is where it needs to happen. Back in the ring, Cargill goes for Eye of the Storm for near fall. Jay counters the move, though, and then they jockey for position. On the top rope yet again. If we've already done a superplex, why are we back there? Then Stokely Hathaway walks out and distracts Jay, allowing Cargill to hit the top rope Jaded for the win. Right person won. I know a lot of people are against this, but you don't have main event women in every segment in AEW, and they did the best they could. Anyway, after the match, Chris Statlander runs out and confronts Cargill and the baddies. Athena, formerly Ember Moon, in WWE debuts and makes even more chaos of a already bloated roster. Nothing wrong with her talent, but did they need to add her now? Video package hyping the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up in about a month, airs. Death Triangle comes down with Alex Abrahantes, and then Penta's child. Pac wears half Penta, half Phoenix. House of Black. Acknowledgement here. I'm not a fan of this at all. No way, no how. Because there's no psychology to it. 15 minutes of just spots. For those that like that style, they're going to love this. Everyone says there's 6 great workers. I think there's 3 great workers and 3 spot artists. But that's just me. Anyway, Phoenix and Black start off, and they go back and forth counter-exchanging. Basically, there's a lot of kicks and counters. Matthews and Penta tagged in, and Penta gets the better of that exchange. Thrust kick and a Rana. Pac enters and goes face-to-face with Brody King. King is phenomenal, and they need to be doing more with him, at least in my opinion. Anyway, King sends Pac to the floor, and then sends him up for big dives. Trios then fall off into the middle of the match, into the middle of the ring. It breaks down. House of Black isolates Penta, and Matthews takes him out with a diving Meteora, which is brutal. Could have been a finish, but it wasn't. Pac cuts off Matthews with a Poison Rana and a running lariat. King flattens Pac with a Black Hole Slam. Again, could have been a finish, but it wasn't. House of Black isolates Pac in their side of the ring. Pac avoids corner cannonball from King, and Phoenix comes in, and then there's double super kicks because we didn't see enough in the Bucks match. Triple team splash from King gets 2 count. Phoenix calls for a suplex on King, but launches himself off into a dropkick. Matthews blocks a suicide dive and hits a suplex on the floor. Pac lands a flop over the top rope because we don't need psychology. Black hits a moonsault to the outside. Pac and Penta hit a dive of their own. This leaves King, who does a dive, but he is too large for the dive. And we've already seen about 18 dives in the match, so who cares if somebody misses one? Back in the ring, House of Black stays on Phoenix, and Dante's Inferno is hit. But the Death Triangle breaks up the pin. Death Triangle comes back, and they each hit various other random signature moves that everybody pops for, but it's just killing the psychology of the match. Anyway, Pac hits a brainbuster on Black. Matthews breaks up the pin. Penta steps up for his brother and his destroyer on the apron. Black is alone in the ring again with Death Triangle and eats 3 more super kicks. Lucha Brothers go for the foot stomp piledriver combo, but then they hit the spin kick on Phoenix. Pac cuts Black off and sends Black off into oblivion. Pac then distracted Matthews and crushes Black with a snap German suplex. Alex Abrahantes distracts the official. Pac kicks Black low. Pac sets up the Black Arrow, but the lights go out. Julia Hart appears, spits Black Miss in Pac's face. Black hits the spin kick on Pac for the win. At least the right team won, which I can't say about the next match, which is the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Final. Adam Cole defeats Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is your ROH television champion. You spent however much, thousands or millions of dollars, for that company. Having a champion lose on pay-per-view in a match that really doesn't have long-term value is unnecessary. I mean, certainly you could see it on something like Dynamite. The match itself was fine. Joe nails Cole with right hands early on, dominates Cole up and down the ring with a bunch of strikes, brings Cole to the floor, and continues to beat him down. Joe is masterful and is phenomenal and has been around for 20 years. Give the guy credit. Let him have one last run. Treat him like a monster, and out we go. Cole then dismantles Joe's left arm on the outside and counters the Panama Sunrise attempt. Cole does knees into the mat. Cole cuts Joe off with an enziguri. Joe plants him in the corner attack, and Joe hits a running crossbody for a 2, then a snap power slam. Another great near fall there. Joe nails Cole with a lariat, yet another 2 count. Joe then comes up with the muscle buster. Cole fights out and hits kick for a 2 count, follows up with a backstabber for another attempted 2 count. Joe fights out, crossface attempts, and hits a powerbomb before transitioning into the STF. Cole then tries to fight to reach the ropes and force a break. Then we go to Bobby Fish running down and wrenching Joe's injured arm over the top rope. Joe avoids the boom, locked on the rear naked choke. Distraction from Fish leads to Cole lowering the boom for the win. And anyway, so Fozzy Rich Ward deal plays Britt Baker to the deal for the thing for the women's half. Rancid for Ruby Soho's entrance. The live music was good for those that are into it. First 10 minutes of this were relatively flat. Britt Baker and Ruby Soho do have good chemistry, but it really stretched into just interesting things. Neither woman really get to establish a clear, decisive deal here. From the start, Baker lays in some kicks. Soho returns fire, hits a running drop kick, and they actually saved Ruby Soho by having the live band because they had almost turned her heel at this point. Soho lands on injured ribs. Baker takes advantage, takes her back inside the ring. Baker continues to target the ribs and taunt her trainer and heated rival. Grounded octopus hold. Soho powers out. They follow to the top rope, and needless to say, then we kind of go to Soho getting the upper hand, hitting a superplex. They trade forearms in the center of the ring for a little bit, leading to a double down. They both teased moves until Soho hits a back suplex. She climbs the ropes, lands a senton for a near fall. Both ladies jockey for position on the top. Baker dumps her and hits the curve stomp for a good near fall. Then picks up a glove and calls for the lockjaw. Soho rolls over. Baker catches Soho and then goes for it again. After a struggle, Soho then transitions into pinning predicament for near fall, and then goes to the no future. Locks on the sharpshooter, and everybody thought she won. Soho lands a victory roll, but Baker turns it around into a cradle of her own and gets the win. After the match, Adam Cole comes back out, comes on the ramp. They introduce Dr. Martha Hart, Owen Hart's widow, and the head of the Owen Hart Foundation. Tony Khan sends her out there. She thanks the fans. She thanks AEW. She thanks the roster and her team. There's an Owen chant. Both Cole and Baker are presented with Owen Hart Memorial Cup and Championship belts with pink trim as well as the physical cup. Then we go to a match that did not need to happen. Americans top team Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Paige Van Zant with Dan Lambert defeat Sammy Guevara, Frankie Kazarian, and Ty Conti. I guess, ultimately Paige Van Zant is the standout here. I say it doesn't need to happen because it felt like they were just filling time to fill a show when you could have cut this and put it on Dynamite and it would have been fine. Because I do love Ethan Page. I love Frankie Kazarian. I'm not a fan of Sammy Guevara. And Ty Conti has improved. But anyway, it's a match they could have saved for another time. It just felt like it didn't need to be here. Needless to say, Page joins and goes with a back elbow. He goes for Ego's Edge, but Guevara turns that into a Rana and dropped Page into the corner. Page presses Guevara up overhead, hits power slam for a near fall. Guevara then regains control, and he and Kazarian has some miscommunication along the way, and ultimately, then Conti rakes Sky's back, allows Guevara to hit the jumping cutter. Guevara then tries to get on the same page, Kazarian, and then work together to isolate Sky. Distraction from Page allows Sky to hit the flatliner. Conti knocks Van Zant out and around. Guevara and Conti celebrate, but Kazarian wants the tag. Guevara then is doing a bunch of heel-related work. Kazarian comes in and looks super good. He shoves Sky and reaches for Van Zant. She gets in the first action of the match. She takes down Conti and lands ground and pound before hitting clotheslines. She then hits a back handspring elbow. Van Zant goes for the TKO, but Guevara breaks that up. Van Zant lands a body shot and tilt-a-whirl DDT. She sends Conti face first into Guevara's, groin, then hits a Michinoku driver for a near fall. Conti then comes back and ultimately does a judo takedown and a bicycle kick bunch, and there's a back and forth, lots of deal. Conti hits a knee face buster. Guevara and Conti make out in the ring. America's top team surround them. Kazarian leaves them high and dry. Guevara then makes a one-man comeback and gives Kazarian a chance to re-enter. Hits a sliding cutter. Guevara then's had enough, but strikes Conti, allowing Sky to hit the TKO for the win. Honestly, if this match hadn't happened, no one would care. I would have saved Paige Van Zant for something that wasn't so overbooked. You could have put her on national TV and gotten more publicity out of it. I just was not a fan of this at all. Guevara and Kazarian can never challenge for the TNT Championship again, so long as Sky holds it. Next, a match I fell in love with. Kyle O'Reilly defeats Darby Allin 10 minutes 39 seconds. They work insanely hard, and I honestly think it was probably the match of the show, if not close to it. But they, O'Reilly dominates Allin from jump start, lands a knee, and then goes for an armbar. Allin comes back with a shotgun dropkick and a code red for near fall, chops O'Reilly's leg out, and goes for the Scorpion Death Drop. Allin lands a knee of his own and then sends O'Reilly to the floor. Tries to follow up with one of his dives, but he misses. And then he obviously bit his tongue or did something because he's bleeding a good bit from the mouth. Then Kyle O'Reilly hits a guillotine on the floor. Upon re-entry into the ring, Allin hits a top rope Frankensteiner and locks on the Last Supper. O'Reilly comes back with a bunch of stiff shots and a vertical brainbuster for near fall. Then he goes to the cross arm breaker again. Can't get the job done. And then there's an ankle lock. Allin then transitions, turns it into a Scorpion Deathlock. Allin hits a dragon screw over the ropes and lands coffin drop, and O'Reilly is caught. Back in the ring, Allin goes for another coffin drop, but O'Reilly turns into an armbar. Allin then cradles O'Reilly and forces to escape. Strikes, and there is a double down. Probably the hottest match of the night in terms of back and forth. Anyway, O'Reilly chokes Allin with a chain and lands a soccer kick. Allin kicks out after that, hits a second soccer kick for 2 count, and a third one, and a diving knee drop for the win. Kyle O'Reilly should be challenging for the Heavyweight Championship or the TNT Championship or the ROH Championship or something. Kyle O'Reilly is phenomenal. AEW World Championship, Women's World Championship, Thunder Rosa defeats Serena Deeb 16:52. Second favorite match of the night is right here. This is easily the best women's match, maybe in AEW history. Performing back and forth technical wrestling exchange. Rosa locks on the Romero special. They wrestle around. Rosa hits drop down right hand that Dustin Rhodes usually does. And then hits a slide, and Rosa gets sent into the ring post on the outside, following a neck breaker over the ropes, which was kind of interesting. Deeb hits another neck breaker for a 2 count, follows up with knees for leverage. Rosa on Rosa's neck. Rosa powers out, neck crank, and then goes for strikes in the center of the ring. Rosa hits a Northern Lights bomb and ultimately does everything she can to get things going in the right direction for herself. Deeb then goes face first into the turnbuckle, follows up with double knees and a running drop kick. Rosa then hits the Northern Lights suplex, and then Rosa comes back. Deeb comes back and locks on a octopus hold, and then she turns into a neckbreaker for 2 count. Rosa then continues leg sweep attempt into the crossface, but Deeb cradles her way out of it. Deeb then locks on a stretch muffler for her trouble. Rosa then fights out and smashes Deeb's knee against the mat, but double clotheslines lead to a double down, because that's what we do in wrestling these days. Anyway, then we go to, out of the corner, Rosa hits a diving double stomp to the back, fire thunder driver. For near fall, Deeb goes after the leg and applies a figure for a leg lock. Trading strikes, and then the hold is still locked on. Rosa rolls to the floor to break the hold, but Deeb hits a dragon screw over the ropes. Deeb then hits the Deeb talks, but Rosa gets a foot on the ropes during the pin attempt. She then goes for the Serenity Lock and opts for the powerbomb before applying a Texas Cloverleaf. Rosa reaches the ropes, breaking the hold. Deeb then goes for the Deeb talks again, doesn't get what she wants. Rosa cracks with a high kick and then a superplex and a fire thunder driver for the win. Justin Roberts introduces the Anarchy in the arena match, which honestly they could have skipped this, but I do admit I have a bias. Anything that Jericho's involved in that's not a one-on-one match, I hate these multi-person matches, and the idea that this goes 22 minutes and 40 seconds is nuts. It's not there. Anyway, so obviously this is the deal here. Jericho, Hager, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker defeated Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. I would have liked to have seen many of these talents in singles or even smaller tag matches. These multi-person matches are just goofy. They start brawling, and the music continues to play. Wild Thing for Jon Moxley. Moxley produces a fork and basically Abdullah the Butchers somebody here. They brawl around. Kingston and Jericho try to escape using a scooter. Moxley locks on the rear naked choke for his trouble. Finally, inside the ring, Santana and Ortiz work together, taking out Hager. Wild Thing is still playing over the loudspeakers. Jericho finally cuts the music off by beating up the speakers. Moxley lands a diving double sledge on Jericho. Santana and Ortiz hit the street sweeper for their trouble and ultimately try to get things going back in their general direction. Anyway, on Hager, he's sent through 2 tables to the floor. Moxley then attacks Jericho with the camera. Kingston and Menard attack each other with mustard at the concession stands. Tony Schiavone acknowledges the Tupelo concession stand brawl, which I thought was cool. Garcia hits a pile driver on the steel steps. Everyone is bleeding. Parker smashes Danielson with the ring bell. Moxley throws a cooler at Jericho's face. Too bad it didn't hit. And then Jericho locks on walls on top of the table. It breaks under the pressure, but there's no real spot to it. Moxley then locks on a figure 4 on the ramp. Garcia hits a Shining Wizard over a bunch of tables and chairs and other such things. Moxley unhooks the top rope and low blows Jericho into the turnbuckle. People are fighting in an elevator at one point. How interesting. Danielson and Moxley beat down Jericho and Hager with the turnbuckles in the ring. Jericho comes back with a bunch of chair shots on Moxley, but Moxley then returns fire with the Regal knee. Hager then applies the ankle lock on things, and then ultimately 2.0 are set up to get the tables, and Santana and Ortiz set up a tall ladder. They each hit diving splashes on the opposite side of the ring. Jericho sprayed fire extinguisher in Moxley's face. Moxley and Danielson, Jericho, and Hager exchange forearms for a little bit. That continues to go in the direction they wanted to go. Blackpool Combat Club end up with the upper hand and land overhead elbows before locking on their respective submission holds. Kingston shows up on the ramp with a can of gasoline. He douses Jericho in gasoline before he hits Danielson with it, and then Moxley tries to break it up. Kingston and Danielson get up. Jericho hits with the chair, and then ultimately, it's kind of not the best of situations, and so Hager then sends Moxley backwards into the barbed wire board, perched on the table. Yes, barbed wire boards. We need those. Anyway, Jericho nails Danielson with the turnbuckle pads. Danielson kicks out from another near fall. Danielson fights off both Jericho and Hager with yes kicks, and then hits the Bushido knee on Hager. Then hits it on Jericho through a chair for another near fall. Danielson lands a bunch more kicks and on Jericho before nailing with a buzzsaw, turning the kick on Jericho. Tries to kick Jericho's head in. Hager takes Danielson out with Floyd the Bat. Jericho locks on the walls as Hager strangles Danielson with the ring rope that had been detached from the ring already. So that gives him an advantage, certainly. And then Jericho causes Danielson to pass out, which is a logical way for the match to end. Ultimately, that is the way the match ends, and Jericho's team wins. So that means we probably have to do more 5-on-5 junk with this sometime in the not-too-distant future. Anyway, Andrade El Idolo is in the office. He said he wasn't here at AEW to lose. The AFO are losers. Jose and the assistant has a contract ready, and there's a knock at the door. The contract belongs to former ROH and CMLL star Roosh, and they perform the pose that they used to do in Mexico, which I don't think the majority of people got. Men of the Year and Dan Lambert are backstage. They're asked how they felt about winning the match earlier. They said they felt good. Paige is excited to be done with those pieces of trash. Sky asks who's next. Dante Morton walks up and challenged Sky. Sky said he'd give him a match in Southern California. Then the tag team champions, or championship match, comes on as your semi-main event. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus champions with Christian Cage defeat Team Taz, Ricky Starks, and Powerhouse Hobbs, and Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. I am not a fan of the Jurassic Express deal. And I'm not a fan of it because I think it's been overdone when you have other stronger teams in the promotion. 2 in, 1 out rules, basically. Jungle Boy lands a dive right away, and the champions are in control for a good bit. Hobbs and Swerve tag in. Big Man levels Swerve with a lariat. Swerve, I will admit, is a good signing. Work together taking out Hobbs, and Jungle Boy tags in, uses a Rana, sending Swerve to the floor. He then hits 2 suicide dives. Keith Lee catches him on the third and powerbombed him onto his own tag team partner. Hobbs then tags back in and then hits Starks, has him beat down Jungle Boy for a minute. Starks performs the rope walk. Jungle Boy pulls him down and crotches him. Jungle Boy then tries to tag Luchasaurus, but also incapacitated him, so that then leads to Swerve being able to tag back in. Swerve then takes out Hobbs with the diving uppercut and dumps Starks onto Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Lee then assisted Swerve on the moonsault off of Lee's chest into the 3 on the floor. Hobbs popped up Swerve, but Swerve turns in and hits a Rana and a jumping thrust kick for near fall. Luchasaurus goes nuts on everybody, taking out Team Taz with double clotheslines. Then the big men square off. Luchasaurus goes for double choke slam, but Hobbs and Lee turn it into a combo choke slam of their own. Lee dumps Hobbs to the floor and then lands the tope to the outside. Luchasaurus powers him up and hits a slam, but Lee kicks out of it. Luchasaurus and Lee trade strikes in the center. Hobbs then takes them both out, leaving Starks and Jungle Boy tagging in. Starks pins Jungle Boy with his feet on the ropes and gets caught by the referee. Another near fall. Starks then hits a slingshot Rochambeau, but Luchasaurus breaks up the pin at the last second. Hobbs then hits a spine buster, but Swerve hits a pop-up stomp on Hobbs. Swerve then goes out and Lee hits the Doomsday double stomp, but Hobbs then breaks up the pin for another near fall. Starks hits Lee with the FTW Championship for his trouble, and then ultimately Jungle Boy lands a thrust kick on Swerve. Starks then wanted to use the belt, but Christian then drags him out of the ring. Swerve then rolls out Jungle Boy, close near fall for Jungle Boy, avoiding the Swerve Stomp